I found the wig in our backyard trash bin stuffed beneath leftover takeout and some crumpled tissue. It still had the tag from the costume shop on it. Synthetic fibers. Color 6N blonde. That was the moment I knew something wasn't right. Up until that point, I wanted to believe my sister Monica. I wanted to believe her when she said she was dying, that her sudden weight loss wasn't from skipping meals for Instagram, but from cancer, that her pale skin, her shaky hands, her half-hearted smiles weren't just another phase in her influencer brand. I wanted to be the sister who showed up, who sacrificed, who stood by. But standing in our backyard with that wig in my hands, I felt something shift inside me. Hope cracked into suspicion. Love bent into something colder. That's when the story began. My name is Carla, and I was 18 when everything fell apart. I grew up in a quiet suburb of New Jersey in a neighborhood where all the houses had the same shape and everyone knew who was applying to which college. My family was simple. My dad worked night shifts as a security guard at the local hospital, and my mom stayed home baking and watching daytime court shows. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling either. Just steady, average, predictable. Except for Monica. She was 4 years older than me, and from the moment she got her first ring light, she decided she was going to be famous. She started posting wellness content on Instagram talking about clean eating, self-love, and crystal healing. It was harmless at first, but as her follower count grew, so did her sense of entitlement. Suddenly, she was too good for family dinners, too busy for holidays, too tired from creating content to help around the house. Still, my parents adored her. They bragged about her brand deals, reposted her selfies, and proudly told the neighbors she had made it. I watched all of this from the background, quiet, patient, invisible. Unlike Monica, I didn't post much. I didn't even have many friends. I read, I wrote, I volunteered at the town library. I spent my weekends working on articles for my high school's newspaper, dreaming of becoming an investigative journalist. My big goal was Columbia University's School of Journalism. I knew it was a long shot, but I'd worked harder than anyone I knew. When the acceptance letter arrived in my inbox, I sat in silence for almost an hour, just staring at the screen. It felt like something sacred, something fragile. I didn't tell anyone, not even my parents. Not yet. I just wanted to hold it for myself a little longer. But secrets don't last in our house. One afternoon while I was out getting coffee with my journalism advisor, my mom used my laptop to check her email. She saw the acceptance notification, opened it, and screamed so loud the neighbors thought someone had died. She posted it on Facebook before I even came home. That was the moment everything changed. When I walked through the front door that evening, my mom was crying with joy, holding up my laptop like it was a golden ticket. My dad hugged me, clapping my back. And Monica. She didn't say anything. She stood in the corner of the room, arms crossed, lips tight. Later that night, I heard her crying in the bathroom, and the next morning she made an announcement. Monica stood in the kitchen with a glass of orange juice in her hand and a trembling voice. She said she had something to tell us, something serious. My mom dropped the dish towel she was holding. My dad turned off the television. We all looked at her. She took a deep breath and said she had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Stage 3. Inoperable. The room froze. My mom gasped and ran to hug her. My dad looked stunned, his face pale. I didn't move. I just stared at her, trying to process the words. Pancreatic cancer, out of nowhere. Monica said she'd kept it secret because she didn't want to worry us, that she'd just gotten the results after a biopsy at a private clinic downtown. She spoke like she'd rehearsed it, calm but fragile, tearful at the right moments. My mom started crying immediately, asking why she hadn't told us sooner, why she had gone through this alone. Monica shook her head and said she hadn't wanted to take attention away from my big news. That's when everyone turned to look at me. Suddenly, my acceptance to Columbia felt like an offense, like I'd done something wrong. My dad put his hand on my shoulder and said maybe we could celebrate later once things settled down. My mom asked me to give Monica some space. And Monica? She just smiled softly and said, "I'm so happy for you, Carla. You deserve it." But I could see the edge in her eyes. That wasn't a sister happy for her sibling. That was a warning. Within 2 days, my room had been emptied out. My books, my desk, my clothes, all packed into boxes and shoved into the attic. Monica needed a quiet space, my mom said, a space where she could rest and heal. My dad moved a futon into the living room for me. The next morning, Monica posted a black and white photo on Instagram with the caption, "Fighting for my life," but still standing. It got over 30,000 likes. That weekend, a huge bouquet arrived at the door from one of her brand sponsors. Monica took pictures with it, pretending to cry, then went out with her friends that night. I knew because I heard her sneaking back in at 2 in the morning, laughing and kicking off her heels. When I asked my mom why someone undergoing chemotherapy was wearing stilettos and drinking cocktails, she snapped at me, said I was being heartless, said Monica needed my support, not my questions. I bit my tongue. For days. I cooked for her, cleaned around her. I even bought her favorite tea. I watched as she skipped appointments, posted gym selfies, and kept getting paler, not from illness, but from the thick filter she used on every photo. But the real moment, the moment that cracked it all open, came when I found the hair. It wasn't even hidden. She left it on the bathroom counter, a synthetic hairpiece badly made with a lace front that hadn't been glued down properly. I picked it up, turned it over, and saw the tag still attached. That's when I went to the trash and found the packaging. She'd bought it from a novelty store downtown. That same day, she'd posted a video crying about how her hair had started falling out. Thousands of comments poured in. Hearts, prayers, donations. I felt sick. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. Not yet. I needed proof. Real proof. Because no one would believe me unless I had something undeniable. Not my parents. Not the people online. Maybe not even myself. I started by documenting everything. Every lie. Every contradiction. I kept a journal hidden inside an old encyclopedia in the attic. Each entry was dated, time-stamped, and detailed. When Monica said she had a chemo session on Wednesday, I noted it down. When she posted a selfie from a cafe with full makeup on that same day, I took a screenshot. I began to track her social media posts, comparing them with the stories she told our family. I watched her claim to be too weak to eat, then devour 2 slices of cake when she thought no one was watching. I noted how she wore long sleeves even in the heat, probably to avoid the need for fake IV marks. She was careful, I'll give her that. She never overplayed it. She kept the details vague. She cried at just the right moments. But she slipped up, slowly, quietly, and I was there to catch it all. A few weeks later, she launched a fundraiser called Heal Monica. The link was in her bio. She said the money would go toward experimental treatments and holistic therapies not covered by insurance. Donations poured in. Strangers, fans, even people from our neighborhood who hadn't spoken to us in years. The total hit $15,000 in just 2 weeks. Monica posted a teary video thanking everyone, her voice shaking, her eyes red. She wore a hoodie and a scarf wrapped loosely around her head. She said she felt seen, loved, protected. I watched that video 5 times. Not once did she mention where the money would actually go. Not once did she provide receipts. Meanwhile, our house became a shrine to her performance. Flowers covered every surface. Cards filled the mailbox. My mom started cooking only vegan meals because Monica claimed the cancer couldn't handle processed food. My dad stopped talking about my Columbia acceptance. He looked tired, defeated. I think he wanted to believe her, needed to, because the alternative meant admitting that he'd been fooled, that we all had. I knew I had to gather more. Screenshots weren't enough. I needed something that couldn't be explained away. I bought a tiny voice recorder off Amazon. It looked like a USB stick. I hid it behind the living room bookshelf where Monica liked to take her phone calls. At first, it caught nothing, just her humming along to music or scrolling through reels. But then one night I hit gold. She was talking to someone named Jared, laughing about a brand deal that almost got pulled when someone asked for medical documentation. "I just told them I was too tired to send it," she said, giggling. "They dropped it, like whatever. The sympathy is worth more than the check." She laughed again, then added Carla's being weird. "I think she suspects something. She's always watching me." My stomach turned. I saved the file, backed it up in 3 places. That was the beginning of my archive. From then on, I planted voice recorders in 2 other spots, behind the TV cabinet and under the dining room table. I checked them nightly. Every time I found a piece of evidence, I labeled it, filed it, preserved it like it might disappear. The recordings grew darker. One had Monica mocking my college dreams. "Columbia, please. She's too bland to survive there. She'll probably drop out by spring." Another captured her bragging about how easy it was to manipulate our mom. "Just throw in a tear and mention childhood trauma. Works every time." I kept listening, night after night. The more I heard, the colder I felt. One day, I came home from school to find my laptop missing. My mom said Monica needed it to fill out insurance paperwork. When I got it back, half of my files were gone. College essays, notes, research, all deleted. I opened the recycle bin. Empty. I checked my backups. Corrupted. I confronted Monica in the hallway. She smiled and asked if I'd remembered to back up everything. Then she walked away, her bare feet brushing across the wooden floor like nothing had happened. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the living room futon staring at the ceiling, wondering how far she'd go, how much more she could take before I broke. I needed to act, but I had to be smart, because the next move had to be final. I waited for the perfect opportunity, and it came on a Sunday afternoon when Monica decided to host a small gathering to thank her supporters. She called it a gratitude circle. My parents spent the whole morning preparing appetizers while Monica arranged the living room with scented candles and dim lighting. She wore a soft gray wrap, carried a glass of herbal tea, and greeted everyone with weak smiles. There were neighbors' friends from high school, a few Instagram acquaintances who had driven in from nearby towns. Everyone arrived with gifts and kind words, offering hugs and promises of prayers. I stayed quiet, blending into the corner, pretending to take photos for her feed. My phone, though, was doing something else. I had synced the voice recorder under the table to a Bluetooth connection, monitoring everything in real time. I listened as Monica gave her speech, thanking everyone for their love. She dabbed her eyes dramatically, pausing for effect. She said cancer had given her perspective, that it had made her appreciate every small joy. Then she dropped a line that made my fingers clench around the phone. She said, "My biggest fear isn't dying. It's leaving behind a family that doesn't believe in me." A few people looked over at me. I just smiled. When she finished, they clapped. Someone shouted, "You're so strong." Monica closed her eyes like she was soaking it in. It was my moment. I stepped forward and asked if I could say a few words. Monica looked surprised but nodded. I thanked everyone for coming, said how proud I was of my sister. Then I told them I had something to share. I clicked on my phone, playing a short clip from one of the recordings. Monica's voice echoed through the speakers, clear and undeniable. "The sympathy is worth more than the check," she laughed. "Carla's being weird. She thinks I'm actually sick." A silence fell over the room. Monica's face twisted, but she tried to recover. "That's not me," she said quickly. "That's AI. She edited that. She's obsessed with me." I didn't respond. I pulled out a small envelope and handed it to our old neighbor, Mrs. Goldman, who had just donated $500 to the fundraiser. Inside was a printed receipt showing the wig Monica had bought online, along with a screen-captured timestamp of her in a bar the same day she claimed to have been at chemotherapy. More murmurs. Someone gasped. Monica's hands trembled. She knocked over her glass. My mom started crying. My dad stood frozen. Monica turned to me with fire in her eyes and shouted, "You jealous little snake, you've always wanted to ruin me!" Her voice cracked, rising with every word. "You couldn't handle being ignored, so you turned everyone against me." She lunged at me but tripped over a chair. 2 guests stepped between us. I stayed calm. I looked at my dad and said, "You wanted proof. There it is." He didn't say anything. He just stared at Monica like he was seeing her for the first time. That night, Monica disappeared. She turned off her phone, deleted her Instagram, and left a note saying she needed time. My mom spent the whole evening pacing the kitchen. My dad sat at the dining table in silence. I went upstairs, opened my laptop, and created a Google Drive folder titled Monica Evidence. I uploaded everything, every file, every screenshot, every receipt. I shared it with my journalism teacher and a few trusted contacts. I wasn't going to let her erase what she did. Not again. The next day, I got a message from Columbia's admissions office. They had received an anonymous complaint a few weeks prior claiming I had a history of harassing a sick family member. But now, with the new information, they were opening a formal investigation into the false tip. I knew it was Monica. The writing style, the phrasing, the tone, all of it matched her past captions. It didn't matter anymore, because now I had evidence that spoke louder than her lies. That evening, I came home to find my mom sitting at the kitchen table staring at her hands. Her eyes were red, her posture stiff. She didn't look up when I walked in. My dad stood near the sink, arms crossed, mouth tight. No one said anything for a few moments. Then my mom asked me why I hated my sister so much. Her voice was quiet but sharp. I told her I didn't hate Monica. I just hated the lies. My dad looked at me and asked if I really thought Monica faked everything. I didn't answer with words. I just pulled out my phone and handed it to him. He listened to the recordings one after another, his face darkening with each line. When he got to the clip where Monica bragged about deleting my college essays, he stopped. He looked up and asked if that was why I'd been crying in the living room at 2 a.m. last month. I nodded. My mom started to cry again, but it wasn't the soft kind of crying. It was deep guttural from a place of confusion and betrayal. I told them about the wig, the fake receipts, the disappearing files, the voice recorders. I showed them the folder. I told them I had already shared it with other people in case Monica tried to spin the story again. My dad sat down and buried his face in his hands. My mom just kept whispering, "How did we not see it?" I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty, like I had torn open a wound that wouldn't close. The next morning, we found out Monica had gone to stay with a friend in another state. She wasn't answering texts or calls. My mom left her dozens of voicemails. My dad didn't say much for the next 2 days. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I moved my things back into my room, reshelved my books, reorganized my desk. I tried to feel at home again, but it didn't feel like mine. One evening, as I was rewriting one of my lost essays from memory, my dad came in and asked if I wanted to talk. We sat on the floor like we used to when I was a kid. He apologized, said he'd failed me, said he thought supporting Monica meant trusting her no matter what. But he realized now that blind trust isn't love, it's fear. My mom eventually joined us. She held my hand and said she didn't know how to fix this, but she wanted to start by believing me. That was enough for me to cry for the first time in weeks. It wasn't loud or dramatic, just quiet tears that slipped down while I nodded. We sat there for a long time, not talking, just existing in the same space. That night, my parents took down the fundraiser page. My dad emailed the donors offering refunds. My mom deleted the Facebook post about Monica's diagnosis. The house started to feel lighter. The Columbia admissions officer called again. They had reviewed the evidence and were reinstating my offer. They apologized for the delay and said they admired my composure under pressure. I thanked them and hung up. For the first time in months, I felt a little peace. But it didn't last. A week later, my prom dress arrived in the mail. Midnight blue, floor-length, simple but elegant. I hung it in the closet, imagining what the night might be like. I told my friend Ava I was finally excited about something. But the next day, I came home to find bleach stains on the fabric. The dress was ruined. My mom found the empty bleach bottle under Monica's old bed. There was no note, no apology, just damage. I didn't cry. I didn't even get angry. I just called Ava and told her I'd wear something else. She brought me her cousin's dress and we made it work. That night, as I walked across the dance floor, surrounded by lights and laughter, I felt something close to freedom. Monica hadn't won. She'd tried everything to ruin me, but I was still standing, still moving forward, and she was just a shadow behind me. Summer came quickly, and with it came quiet mornings and long nights filled with rebuilding. I spent the first few weeks of June focused entirely on preparing for Columbia. My teachers, once skeptical, had rallied around me. They helped me replace lost assignments, gave me extended deadlines, and one of them even wrote a second recommendation letter after hearing what had happened. I was finally able to breathe again. My parents tried to give me space while also working to repair the cracks in our family. They started going to therapy together, something I never thought I'd see. My mom began cooking again small familiar meals that filled the kitchen with warmth. My dad bought a new lock for my bedroom door without me asking. He said it was just in case. I appreciated the gesture more than I could say. One evening, as we were cleaning out the hallway closet, I found a box filled with Monica's old journals. My mom froze when she saw them. I picked one up, flipped through the pages. It was filled with sketches, quotes, dreams. It hurt to see who she used to be. Someone who once wanted to write a book, travel to Italy, open a tea shop. Somewhere along the way, she lost herself. I didn't tell my mom about the final page I found. A list. Things Carla has that I don't was the title. Underneath it were bullet points. Patience, quiet confidence, real friends, college acceptance. I closed the journal and put it back in the box. I didn't want revenge anymore. I just wanted peace. Columbia sent a welcome packet with housing info, class schedules, and a scholarship offer. I accepted everything without hesitation. I started planning my move with meticulous detail, buying school supplies, labeling boxes, and researching my future professors. I still checked Monica's Instagram sometimes. It was blank. No posts, no profile picture, just a username sitting in limbo. One day, I got a letter in the mail. It had no return address. Inside was a short handwritten note. The handwriting was unmistakably hers. "I'm sorry. I'm getting help. I know it's not enough. I don't expect forgiveness. But I hope you find peace, even if it's without me." There was no signature, just a pressed lavender flower folded into the paper. I didn't tell my parents about it. I just tucked the letter into my journal and kept packing. Move-in day came faster than I expected. My parents drove me to campus early in the morning. My dad made too many trips up the dorm stairs carrying boxes, and my mom cried 3 separate times before noon. My roommate was someone I had talked to online for weeks. Her energy was calm, and we clicked instantly. That first night, as I lay in bed staring at the unfamiliar ceiling, I realized something. For the first time in a long time, my story wasn't about Monica. It was about me, about who I was becoming. Not a victim, not a rival, just Carla. A student, a survivor, a writer. I started journaling again every night, capturing my thoughts, my progress, my healing. One entry simply said, "Today was quiet," and that's all I needed. Months passed. I found a small group of friends, joined the campus newspaper, and even pitched my first investigative article. I found my rhythm, my voice. And then, one rainy afternoon, I got a call from my dad. He said Monica had entered a treatment facility, voluntarily. She was attending therapy twice a week and had started a part-time job at a bookstore. He didn't ask me to reach out. He just thought I should know. I thanked him and hung up. I sat with the information for a while, then opened my laptop and began writing an essay titled "Truth in a Time of Lies." I submitted it to a national journalism contest and didn't expect anything. But a month later, I received an email. I had won. The award ceremony would be in D.C., and they wanted me to speak. I called my parents first. My mom cried again. Then, for some reason I can't explain, I sent the event link to Monica's email. She never replied, but a week later, a small package arrived at my dorm. Inside was a necklace with a tiny pendant that read, "Truth." No note, no card, just that one word. I placed it on my desk next to my laptop. I wasn't ready to wear it, but I wasn't ready to throw it away either. Some things take time. Healing, forgiveness, trust. I was learning that not all scars fade, but they don't have to define you. They can remind you of what you've overcome, and that's enough. Graduation came with a breeze of early spring air and the quiet hum of finality. I stood on stage in my black gown, the tassel brushing against my cheek, the auditorium lights warm and sharp on my face. My name was called, and I stepped forward to accept the journalism award that bore the same title as my essay, "Truth in a Time of Lies." I looked into the crowd and found my parents in the third row, clapping, smiling proud in a way that felt different from before. Earnest, grounded. My mom wore a floral scarf Monica had gifted her years ago. My dad held his phone up, recording every second like it was treasure. After the ceremony, we went out to lunch at a quiet place near the Hudson River. Over pasta and iced tea, we laughed about my old prom photos, how ridiculous my first dorm setup had looked, how my dad had once accidentally packed 5 hair dryers instead of extension cords. We didn't mention Monica, not until dessert. That's when my mom said gently that Monica had completed her residential therapy program and was now living in a transitional apartment near the bookstore where she worked. She was attending group sessions, doing community college classes online, and according to the therapist, making real progress. She hadn't asked to see me. She hadn't sent anything more, just silence. And that was okay. I told my parents I was happy for her, that I hoped she kept going. I meant it, even if part of me was still afraid. Summer rolled in quietly. I took a research internship with a local paper and spent my days investigating public records, interviewing community leaders, and writing short reports about zoning disputes and school board debates. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real, honest work, and I loved it. Then one Thursday morning, as I was reviewing an article draft in a downtown cafe, I heard my name. I looked up, and there she was, Monica, standing across from my table. Her hair was longer now, curled softly at the ends. She wore a simple blue dress and flat shoes. No makeup, no accessories. Just Monica. She asked if she could sit, and I nodded. We didn't talk for the first few minutes, just sipped coffee, glanced out the window. Then she said, "Thank you." I asked, "For what?" She said, "For not destroying me when you could have." I didn't answer. Not right away. Then I said I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to live. She nodded, said she knew that now. She told me about therapy, about writing letters she never sent, about the moment she realized she'd never get back what she broke. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't beg for connection. She just sat with me, present, human. At the end, she stood up and said, "I'll keep working on it. Not for you, for me." I nodded. That was enough. When she walked away, I didn't feel heavy. I didn't feel anxious. I felt free. I went back to the newsroom that afternoon and submitted a new essay titled "The Weight of Truth." Not about Monica, about me. About learning to stand up without rage, to speak without shaking, to believe in my own voice even when no one else did. It was published the next week. I got emails from strangers, from parents who'd watched their children fade into someone they didn't recognize, from siblings who'd stayed silent too long. They thanked me for saying what they couldn't. That's when I realized something. Telling my story wasn't about exposing Monica. It was about freeing myself. And maybe in doing that, I'd freed others too. One night, as summer folded into fall and I packed to return for my second year, I opened the drawer where I'd kept the necklace Monica sent. I held it in my palm. The pendant still read truth. I slipped it around my neck and caught my reflection in the mirror. Not as a girl who survived someone else's lies, but as a woman who built her future out of her own courage. Some people live to be seen. Others live to be believed. I had lived through both, and now I chose to live for myself.